Welcome to Launch Code, a premier business podcast, starring Evan Hafer, Matt Best, and Jared Taylor.
Hello.
Welcome.
Salt Lake City.
Launch Code.
Launch Code.
Launch Code. Launch Code's a way different intro than Drinking Bros.
It's kind of like a
way different.
It's good. It's a good afternoon podcast. You get to talk shop with some smart people.
It's kind of like a sipping.
Not me.
Like
I'm not coupling myself into that. I'm simply saying that you guys are smart and I'm enjoying the conversation.
Way too humble.
Of a podcast.
Way too humble.
Yes.
So today we've got. We actually
had you on before, right?
Yeah. Correct.
We had this debate in the office the other day. How do you pronounce your last name?
Alland.
Why were you saying Aland?
I always like Alland.
Did you think you were like JT was like, oh, it's how you pronounce it?
Is it Dutch?
Aland.
I didn't argue
Finnish.
how to pronounce it. I just have always called him Mike Aland.
Huh. I mean, either one.
50%.
Aland sounds.
It sounds fancy, doesn't it?
It sounds-
And he's always a fancy person.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I'm not that fancy.
Aren't you? But you go by Esquire.
No.
So I mean that makes sense.
Squire, Esquire.
Yeah.
No, Esquire for sure.
He puts the D in Allen. You know.
It's a quiet D though.
You do
so
put the
it's-
D
You put
in
the
Allen.
D in Allen.
That's a shirt
Yeah. No, it's
that
not.
I want to wear
That's
every time I go to your house.
all right. So let's crack the code on this thing, man. Give us your background. We've had you on the show before, but we're also doing something really cool this year with Noveski, and I think we're telling you guys before we tell anybody else.
That is true.
100%.
You get the first pass. We've actually teamed up to do a BlackRifle coffee rifle with Noveski. We've had this in the works. Gosh, man.
8 months.
8 months.
Yeah.
Kitty's out of the bag.
Kitty's out of the bag, guys.
She is running rampant.
Yeah.
And it's not even fair to say it's just a rifle. It's a kind of this
a kit.
overwhelming kit that you get.
And it's an experience. I don't even know if it is a kit, but it's
You get a lot of matching things in the kit, too.
Lots of
Everything-
matchy.
well, and a lot of
if you're-
exclusive stuff that you get one shot at ever to get, which is really cool. I'm actually going to buy one for myself.
Yeah.
You and I both. So Matt and I will be in those numbers. So and JT actually.
Yeah.
So all three of us will buy those rifles. So
We're getting
the first
1,
three.
2, 3.
I don't know. I think we
want
should.
15.
I think we should let people get either 1,
I want
2, or 3.
10.
Can I get 15? Can you save me 15?
Yes, I
Okay,
can.
Thank you.
You're gonna have 15. Why?
Art 15.
Oh God.
What's
All
that?
right. So
Well, let's talk about the kit.
let's talk about
Let's
the
talk
kit.
about
Let's
the
just
kit.
talk about it a little
Okay.
bit. I'll talk it from the coffee side, and then
Yes.
you can hit it from the rifle side.
Perfect.
So first and foremost, we roasted a special coffee for Noveski. It's in what we call the Premier bag, and it's a Premier small batch roast. We imported it from El Salvador. El Salvador? Yeah. So it's a Pacamara from El Salvador. We flew down there last year with Edwin and Logan flew down there. We cupped it. These guys are fantastic, the farm down there. It's high scoring 90 plus coffee. So you'll be really impressed with the coffee itself. Typically that coffee, I mean, it's a super expensive coffee anyway. Plus we put in a special Noveski BlackRifle coffee bag. We put a hand grinder. The hand grinder and the hand grinders that are in this are the first 100 BlackRifle coffee hand grinders that we actually produced for this kit. And I searched for probably a year straight to find what I felt was the best hand grinder on the market. And I tested a ton of them. Like I have probably every hand grinder known on this earth that you can buy off the internet. These were out of a manufacturer in Europe, but then we designed a silicone sleeve and I made some modifications to the design. So I was tied in directly into the manufacturing process. The silicone sleeve allows you to pull the handle off and then stick it right to the side. You can also use it like a pepper grinder, so you can grind
awesome.
if you don't have the handle. Those are just little requests that I had in there, and you can adjust the grind from the bottom.
Best
So
thing
you
about
can
it is
go.
it feels just indestructible.
No, you could.
Like, that's the weakest thing about hand grinders is if they feel like they're going to come apart.
Yeah, you can use
when
it as
you're
a
doing
self-defense
it.
weapon. I mean,
you
that
can
thing
use it as
it's sturdy.
a chalk block.
I try. I try to make things. You guys know my philosophy on making things. It has to feel like you can beat somebody to death with it, and then
That's
if
such
you
a
do,
good philosophy.
it's a good philosophy.
Yeah,
if I know this mug, if it's too light,
I heard Mattis
I don't
has the
like
same
it.
philosophy about things
I think
that
so.
he creates. Yeah.
then we have the patented pour-over device. So it comes out in 5 pieces. It's stainless steel. That pour-over device was invented by us here at Black Rifle Coffee. We were absolutely like step by step with this.
It's a game changer for me.
It is.
It's like traveling in hotels and everything because I just can't stand the coffee now.
No.
But having that little guy, it takes to put it together about 13 seconds. Once you get the hang of it, might take you a minute the first time.
Yeah, we'll put a video out on it.
Yeah.
But it slides in. Basically, you put it in something the size of an envelope. It doesn't weigh. It's one of the lightest, if not the lightest, pour over on the market right now by a couple ounces. It comes with filters, coffee, hand grinder. I think that's it on the coffee side. So everything that you need for Black Rifle Coffee on the coffee side, and the joint products in there. Like Mike's got a really sick numbered coin in the box as well. So it's a Noveske Black Rifle Coffee coin, and then you can talk about the rifle.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing is virtually everything's serialized the same.
Right.
So the coffee parts are, all serialized to match the low receiver on the rifle. The rifle is a modification of our most popular rifle called the Infidel. It's a 13.7-inch 5.56 barrel that has been pinned with our KX5 muzzle device, making it the legal 16, but shooting a 13.7-inch barrel. So kind of the best of
Which
both
was
worlds.
awesome because when we were talking about what we wanted to do with the rifle, it was like grown-up Legos in here. You'd come in with like
All
2
the
crates
different
of parts,
pieces
and you're
and
like,
just go,
let's
"All
just
right."
put something together.
Yeah,
Let's build it.
I think we have like 17 or 18 different kinds of handguards, and then that's doubled by mounting systems like M-Lock or Keymod. So, and then receiver sets. There's it's the Lego kit is extensive for sure. So it's going to be a variation of the Infidel rifle. We're really excited about it. It has a special logo that we developed here that has a good mix of the BRCC and Noveske cross. So,
And what caliber?
5.56. Yep.
Yeah, the funny thing is we sat in the war room with the chalkboard and came up with that BRCC Noveske logo. I don't know. How long were we working that thing? Probably an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just busted it out, and then
kept
we're like,
racing and going, and yeah.
it was, but as soon as we hit it, we're like,
It-
oh, that's
you know,
it.
yeah.
There
That's-
she
That
is.
is it. I might actually be the asshole that would buy the kit just for the coin, to be honest with you.
The coin's
Like, the
solid
coin-
brass.
The coin
Super
is
cool.
amazing.
Coin is so fucking
Or no,
rad.
it's copper. It's a copper coin, also numbered, and it's die cut to match the Noveske cross, but has the BRCC logo inside of it. So,
And it
Yeah.
comes in a plastic hard case.
yeah, it comes in a hard case with custom cut foam. So everything we've talked about comes with it. It comes with a bunch of magazines too. If you want to take all the coffee stuff out and keep using it as a specific range box, we designed all the cutouts for the coffee stuff to also hold magazines, and so it's a dual purpose. So it's not like you have to bring your pour over to the range every time.
Every time. I
But-
mean, you should.
But you should.
I don't know why you're not.
Yeah. I do, typically.
What?
I bring my pour over.
Oh,
almost
of
every
course.
time.
Yeah. he
That's
does.
my favorite part about traveling with you is I always know I can like knock on your door and get a great cup of
And
coffee.
you always act like you're surprised. You're like, oh, man, you brought it again? I'm like,
He does it with me too all the time. When I have coffee stuff in my bag.
you don't have coffee
You-
stuff.
what?
That would be a surprise.
I usually travel with my own stuff, but every time I travel with you now, I don't because you always have the
You rely
latest
on
and
them.
greatest. I'm like, oh, I have a travel press and this. You're like, well, I brought fucking a 97-point mean.
Elon Musk made this for me.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I guess.
Flamethrower, I'm going to heat up this water.
It takes energy out of the air.
When we were at Trump, it was funny. I burnt through, I brought all this, super specialty coffee, and I burnt through it in, 2 days. So then I was, stuck getting coffee. Not stuck, but I was, stuck one morning ripping the tops off of K-cups and then pouring them into my pour-over device so I could make the appropriate amount of coffee. And then I finally was like, oh, wait, Battlefield Vegas is right down the road. I'll just go get some coffee, and then I don't have to worry about it. No, we're super excited for this. This is one of the coolest things I think we've done.
Well, and before, where can people check these things out? Are they live yet?
So once it goes live, I'm not sure when this airs, but we're going to time it out to where everyone that's listening to this will hear about it first, and it'll be live at that point.
Yep.
At Noveski.com. So
Noveski.com.
there'll be a landing page. It'll be really easy to navigate to.
Cool.
It's like the first collectible.
It really is.
It is. Like, we've never done a real collectible thing, and this is it.
Super high end too. That's what I'm all about. It like everything is quality in that box.
And it's priced reasonably. It's not going to be a $5,000 rifle package that people might expect from Noveski, but it's actually going to come in right at $3,000 for everything that's been mentioned. So the collectability is, we didn't even charge for it. We threw that in for free.
Right.
So.
Well, I wanted people to be able to buy them. Like,
And
that's it.
you
And
I
that's what we
too.
talked about.
Yeah,
like it was,
dude.
we didn't want this to be super difficult to get. We wanted it to be accessible to as many people as possible and as impactful.
And how many did we run?
150.
I'm asking rhetorical questions.
Yeah.
just to get the information out.
150.
150. Yep.
150. So, if you want one, they're gonna go, man. Like, they're gonna go.
I mean,
There's three guys sitting
147. So
here. Yeah, 147.
147 left. And I mean,
Chiseling away at
we
that.
haven't even mentioned it in the building here yet. There are 47 left.
I know we haven't told anybody. So you guys, are the first ones.
we need
launch
on
codes.
these videos one of those like
tickers.
Yeah, it's like act now, like the infomercial.
We have kept this pretty freaking quiet.
Close hold.
Yeah, secretive.
Yeah,
so.
likewise. I mean, even internally, I don't think everyone knew fully about it, except for these giant pallets full of coffee devices.
What's going on
Are
over
we getting in
there?
the coffee business? No. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about
I
that.
think
Just
we're
put a
the
tarp over
only
that
coffee company
to ever do a rifle.
to ever do a rifle.
Because we're not fucking pussies.
Why
like,
don't we?
Sorry.
Can we
Right.
file that in Guinness Book of World Records?
should.
I would
We
love to have that plaque. Like, oh, that's our Guinness record.
I don't think we can do that.
You
But,
can't do that.
I don't know. We can look at it maybe. Okay. So tell us, if you guys haven't listened to the first episode with Mike, we did an episode with Mike last year. It was a great episode. We were talking to him more from the president's side of Noveski. Today, just give us the Reader's Digest of your background, and I want to get into the gun industry.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that.
So, basic level, I used to be in the action sports industry. I was a global marketing director at DC Shoes. Decided to go into the gun industry. Started at Silencer Co. as VP of marketing. Worked there for a couple years, and then had this really cool opportunity to go to Noveski. And I was originally hired as CMO, and then had the president title added about a year later. So here I am.
That is the Reader's Digest version for sure. So how long have you been with Noveski?
Just barely over 3 years. This SHOT Show is my third year with the company, and it was my favorite SHOT Show I've ever been to.
Why's that?
Because I didn't walk the floor once.
Dude,
You and me both.
I was there
got it.
I was there for an hour this year, and I was like, man, this is how you do it. You say hi to a couple people, fist pump, and then you get out.
It was.
We were just really busy, and what we did too is we ended up having a suite,
Right.
and that became a big part of our strategy.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't get it?
He texted it to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, you don't tell anybody anything. So,
I sent it in the mail. I don't know what happened.
He mailed it to you.
Yeah. Checks
so
in the
what
mail.
would you say the difference between the gun industry for you guys, like specifically over the course of the 3 years with Noveski, has changed? From year one at SHOT, maybe 3 years ago to this.
Well,
year?
I think there's two parts to that. There's the industry side, which has changed because of the presidential election really changed the way the gun economy is throughout till now. Where I think the first year it was starting to be pre-election, and it was crazy. I mean, people were just buying anything they could
To stock up.
Yep. And then you get to the point where, okay, so Trump wins, guns are safe, supposedly or whatever. And so then people are more cautious or more discretionary in what they're buying and how much they're buying. And so it became tricky for a lot of companies. And you have seen the industry really kind of getting hurt by, I heard it called at SHOT Show, the Trump slump.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's fair to assign a name to it. It's just the business cycle of this type of industry. We're highly driven by regulation and threat of regulation. So as the threat dies down, there's just not the demand decreases.
Well, we're also seeing the backside, and correct me with this if you think I'm wrong, is around 2012 or 2013, it became incredibly popular to have a boutique custom rifle. Like, that's when that peaked. It's like all of a sudden this market was created out of thin air, when you had Legion firearms, and all these guys, all these small, expensive rifle companies popped up, and they were getting popularity because at that point, 2013, 14, I felt was the peak of the hobby. As far as everybody that was kind of in the space on the fence, it became the pastime for that kind of couple years. And now we're seeing the backside of that where it's not cool anymore. Like, it's not like it was.
I think it's two parts. That you're absolutely right on your assessment. I think also, though, it's a reflection of the saturation in the economy of, let's say, AR-15 style rifles. At that time, that was right after
everybody was coming up with the most crazy, like, dumb things, but people were buying them.
It's like it was right after Sandy Hook, so there was insane amount of demand. This was before I was at Noveski. At that point, Noveski had a 2-year backlog.
Yeah, I remember
after
that.
Sandy Hook. And they were working as hard as they could to get this thing out, but it just was so crazy. So because companies like Noveski and others had this crazy backlog, it opened up the door for these like smaller guys to come in and say, well, hey, I'm only going to do 50 rifles this year, but you can get one right now. Or I have something available that's in the same price range as a Noveski or whoever else.
Even then, though, it was a boom of people that didn't come from the background of building rifles.
Correct.
And they were using the kind of upswing of social media becoming your heartbeat of marketing and branding. And so what happened. You had all these micro brands pop up, and none of them delivered, and then they all tanked.
Yep. And even the economy now, a lot of those guys are gone, but even smaller, more stable companies are struggling and disappearing or being acquired. And if you're in a position to have some strength and some durability, this type of economy right now is super advantageous to gobbling up market share.
So who's being acquired? Like, who have you heard of that's been either who have you heard that's folded or been acquired?
I don't know. I probably don't want to say because I don't know for sure. I don't want to sound like an idiot, but there's definitely like you hear things.
Well, those like acquisitions. Now, are you talking about specifically for the brand, or are you talking about, hey, get CNC machines that are pennies on the dollar kind of thing?
Both. Yeah, both for sure. I mean, I think the industry right now, as soon as someone smells blood in the water, it's like, okay, can I buy your cameras or Lamborghinis or whatever? Like, it's going to be like,
right.
You're just all of a sudden you're thinking about, well,
the biggest thing about business, don't buy a Lamborghini. It's super easy. I'm
like, well, we could really use another wire EDM machine, and I know a company that isn't using all of them, so maybe we can, so it's a tricky industry right now for sure.
I mean, like 2014 was like the peak of the holster craze. Like how many holster companies do you think started in 2014, and then how many survived to right now? Like,
it's such a interesting world because you can look at almost every segment of the firearms industry and see a similar trend. Think about Glocks, right?
Right.
Zev, one of the pioneers of customized Glocks with triggers and slide cuts and all that. I mean, I remember getting into the gun industry, and there was only a couple people really doing it, and then all of a sudden, like, how many custom Glock slides can you get now?
Of course. Now there's a one in every major town. Some guy, is.
Well, yeah, it creates such a competitive landscape that if you're not probably top 3 or top 5, you hit such a saturation point with marketing and just product where you're just going to get absorbed, or you're going to it's not going to be worth it because you're going to die.
Go away.
It's very similar to the peaks in the of the apparel industry and the tactical and veteran world.
Yeah, coming from the action sports world, that business cycle was about every 10 years, it would dip off.
Right.
And kind of reinvent itself, and the strong companies ate up everyone else. And that's how you have, like, I read, maybe a month ago that Quicksilver just bought Billabong.
Right.
And if you're not familiar with those two companies, it would be like HK buying SIG, or, like it would be along those sort of like big companies, big enemies, but then all of a sudden now they're the same company. And that's, in those downturns, that's how it...
Who owns Zoomies? Completely random question. Do you know?
That's an independent guy.
I think.
Is it?
We actually have a connection to him too. I have to remember who.
I figured that might be like a
it's Tom
subsidiary.
Davin. Tom
really?
Davin is really good friends with the guy that started and owns Zoomies.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, that space, I mean, that industry has been hit like crazy. It's not really recovered, which usually it has, but that's also a social thing.
Yeah, but
kids
do you
don't
think-
skateboard
Well, you're not going to see a
anymore.
resurgence in like rollerblading, skateboarding. I mean, you have
No.
the hardcore fanatics, but there's so many crazy new technological advances that make certain action sports so much more interesting comparative to riding a skateboard.
Or just the way that kids are being raised, where there's just maybe not even sports. Like there's not.
yeah, it's more tech based.
But also, do you attribute that to the fact that a lot of the action sports world, that from the gap of almost like 2003 to 2013, they didn't essentially assimilate with the culture shift at all. They stayed the exact same they were in the late 90s, thinking, skateboarding and surfing and all this stuff will always be around, and then no, it stopped.
Well, I remember towards the tail end of my time at DC Shoes, the big thing was we were scrambling to get into trainer type shoes, like running shoes.
Oh, wow.
Because, and not for people to actually run in it, although we did a program with Pastrana, like a cross trainer type thing, because he's always hurt. So he's like, they did a whole series on his rehab from different injuries and building shoes that helped him accommodate that. And that world is cool because like we would share a factory in China or something, and if Nike dropped orders, they'd be like, here's some technology we just invented,
Right.
that like Nike had. So we would get the same like insoles or the same cushion as Nike. But so anyways, I'm pretty sure I would sign something that, never mind, whatever. Anyway, so I'm kidding. But but for that, it was a little bit too late. Like the style didn't catch up as quickly, and the shoe company really hurt. I saw it as I had been moved up to Utah to work with the former owner who lived in Park City, and I think we both saw this thing like changing rapidly, and I didn't want to really be a part of that anymore. So I love that industry, but I took the first chance I could get to go into the gun world. So, and it happened to be with Silencer Co., which was kind of fun for a while.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
just
because
like
you guys pioneered content in the silencer world, and still no one ever even tried to even copy you.
It was weird. I remember
couldn't.
doing stuff, and internally people are like, you're making us look bad, you're making us look soft. And because I didn't believe in doing like, silencers inherently already have enough stigma around them to where it's like, I mean, at that point, no one really bought silencers in the volumes they do now, because
Only hitmen use them.
Yeah, hitmen, or like, are you going to do a drive-by? Like even in the gun industry,
humanizing it a little bit, where it's more of just a supplemental to your daily day at the range.
And I wanted to show real people, normal people that I go shoot with, people how I am, going out and shooting tires in the desert with these things, because it's fun. You have to wear hearing protection. I mean, there's all these other ancillary benefits, but I think a lot of people in the industry at that point were just like, no, we have to put dudes in multicam, and they're going to take down this house, in the back of our lot back here. It's just,
What year was that?
oh, what was it? 2012.
Yeah, that's
13.
funny. It's funny.
And it was a different landscape, and so
Everything was, and I'm not making about myself.
Yeah.
That's the same like back when I started comedy. No one was really doing satirical stuff about the military. It was all like, you're saying multicam, I'm a fucking badass. And I was like, but we're not like that all the time.
I love it. Like even at Noveski now, like a lot of people that we put in our videos are formal special forces guys that have decades of experience being deployed and whatnot. And it's funny to read comments when it's like, oh, that guy, someone should teach him how to hold a gun. And
Right.
just like, if you knew what that guy did for a living for the
That's
last
one of my
20
biggest
years.
compliments about when I hit the landing page last time you were here. It was like a dude in like board shorts and like a surfer shirt, and he's holding a gun, and I love that because it shows like that firearms dudes are not all these. You can't stereotype them. Like,
Well, I mean, all my buddies, like that guy with the surfboard,
Yeah.
he runs a One More Wave charity, spent, 2 decades in the Navy, and he's like one of the most humble guys, has had a really amazing career in the Navy, but like you get hanging out with him, he loves to shoot and everything, but he just as much want to talk about surfing, or it's like he doesn't have to put on the act of
Right.
where I went to range day at SHOT Show, and it was like I could tell the military guys because they were dressed normal, and you could tell everyone else because they were wearing, multicam
Scarf.
pants or scarves or whatever. And it's like, that's cool if that's who you are. Like, I don't care. Like, it doesn't affect me. But I found it interesting though, because those people, a lot of them were really critical of what we did at Silence Co. early, and kind of changing how we did other things. I changed the logo. There was 2 companies. I combined, I marketed them as one, changed a bunch of stuff, but ended up working out good. I think we did a lot of good content and had a lot of good videos, and more importantly, we sold a lot of product.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
You guys went from nobody to somebody. It seemed like overnight. Like,
yeah, that was my favorite part about that job. Was I remember sitting, in the office going, okay, how do you guys position yourself? What do you see yourselves doing? How do you want to be portrayed? What's the price point? And we worked through these things, and it was fun because it was an open slate. I could kind of create a story about anything and kind of do anything. So we had a good time with it, and I brought, a few guys I'd worked with at DC over, and hired some other talented people, and it was fun while it lasted.
one of those guys works for us right now.
Yeah,
Jim York.
Jim's
Fantastic.
God.
Fantastic individual.
Jim was probably one of my favorite hires. That guy from the day one, and he was a friend of my photographer.
He's a workhorse, man.
Yeah,
He is.
Yeah.
We just called Jim, it's done.
Yeah.
It's done.
Just call Jim.
Jim is an AGM 65. He's a
Execution.
Maverick missile. He's a fire, and you forget about it.
Yeah.
You can go
It's
fly
true. It's like
wherever
when
you
people are
want.
like, how to be a successful employee is like to be like Jim. You give him guidance. If he has questions, he asks them. And
Initial
then-
guidance.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
And then he executes. And if he hits a roadblock during the process, he'll text you, email you, what do you want me to do? This, done. And then he carries it to the finish line. I mean, it's
Yeah,
those are the guys that we look to hire, that have
it's
that ability.
definitely be like Jim. I mean, he was one guy for sure, and I had a bunch at Silencer Co., but he was definitely the one guy. If I said I needed this done, I didn't have to worry about it.
Right.
It happened every time. And so it was cool. I think I had a number of guys there at that time we got along super good. And when you have fun and you have good content, you have people that want to work hard, that's where you actually make an impact.
How many people do you guys have at Noveski right now?
We have, I think 35 total employees, something like that.
And everything's manufactured.
Not everything, but all the critical components.
Right.
And we're bringing stuff more and more in-house than we ever have. We've been winning some contracts that have required us to do a little bit more. So it's been pretty good.
And when, I guess, some of the problems that you guys have had that are firearms related, but have you had any big issues with marketing, specific, and I'm leading this question, right? Which is like, how difficult is it for you to market a firearms brand versus a suppressor versus action sport oriented like DC?
And even more, another layer of trickiness to Noveski is it's a very storied brand.
Yeah.
I mean, if you search John Noveski, there's like folklore, available, right? And everyone has a different story, and so you have to be so sensitive to that. And the thing for me is, I've owned a Noveski rifle long before I got in the gun industry. Like, that was my rifle of choice prior. And even at Silencer Co., I used my own rifles in our marketing until we had an actual relationship. So I understand the sensibilities of the brand, and part of my challenge too is Lorena, the owner. She is, very creative. She has a lot of really cool ideas, and some of them, I think up front, it took us probably a year to like figure out how to work together on that.
Right.
Because I'm like, I don't necessarily want to like do too much tough guy stuff, but people have to look good shooting. They have to actually know how to hold a rifle, how to pull a trigger, not slap it, or, and so we kind of work this balance of, well, let's have some fun, but like, let's make sure we also look like we know what we're doing.
Right.
And that's where we bring in some friends that you wouldn't think, or it may not appear that they've had any experience, but have a ton of real world experience. And so it's been an interesting go. But I think all in all, it's successful because we're making money and the company's growing.
Right.
So we've had some of the best years the company's ever had, recently. And so it's one of those things where the proof is sort of in the pudding, but we do kind of battle internally to make sure that we always have, at least one hand on the heritage of the brand and making sure that we pay tribute and respect to the founder, but also, and Lorena was married to him, so it's not like she didn't know him or didn't know what he was into, or I feel like she probably has a better pulse on it than anyone. And people will tell you, I remember, I don't know, I forget what post it was, but it was like, oh, Johnny would be rolling over in his grave if he saw this. And it was like not even it was just an Instagram photo. And I remember thinking, I'm like, this guy doesn't know him.
Right.
He doesn't know who that guy was.
Right.
Like, how are you to comment on
massive
that?
assumption.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Massive assumption. And so, and with a company like Noveski, massive assumptions are sure to follow.
Right.
But again, our product speaks for itself. We don't have to worry about trying to convince people that our rifle's good, because it is.
Right.
And so that gives us the cachet to really kind of hone in and have fun with it. We definitely pull back on a lot of things that we want to do, but no, it wouldn't necessarily be awesome to the public. So we monitor that pretty carefully, but I feel like when I say our product is awesome, it's like the same guys who chambered the barrels when Johnny was here are still doing it. The guys who are building it, same thing. I mean, the company in critical areas has not had a lot of turnover.
Right.
And so the continuity of information and skill set has been there. And so it's good. It helps create a good foundation. If your product isn't that good, or if you're struggling to like scratch out a competitor, I mean, that's where it gets hard to market, because you're like, well, their stuff is actually better than ours.
Right.
There was a specific can at Silencer Co. that we were trying to put up against another company's, and we couldn't beat it. At the end of the day, we're like, okay, we're just not going to do this comparison, and it takes that kind of patience and be able to like throttle back when you need to. But for us at Noveski, that's like, I don't feel like I need to really compare against other people. I don't need to do comparative marketing and put like, okay, here's 10 rifles and we're going to put holes in, paper. Shoot our rifle. If it shoots good, you'll love it. If it doesn't, you probably should go to the range more. I mean, that's
Right.
The rifle outlasts, and outdoes certainly what I'm capable of as a shooter. So it, and proof's in the pudding as well with contracts that we're winning and bidding on. So it's a good place to be right now, for sure.
How are you navigating your, firearms and social media? They mix like oil and water.
Yeah. It is the worst to have. It's like, you can't, just when you think you can start getting some really good momentum social media wise, it just sort of disappears.
Right.
And that's tough. It's really difficult to count on that as a adequate method of information distribution.
And with dealing with that, it can disappear at the drop of a hat. You could have followed every rule you think you needed to follow. Your video's doing well. You're getting traffic, and then you go to refresh and it's gone with no explanation.
Yeah, and you try to rebut it, and they don't get back.
Yeah, I mean
to
that process with them is so subjective that just, I mean, you know,
whoever's on the other end,
makes the final decision, and even if it's a not a logical decision, it doesn't matter. It's the power's in their hands.
We've been starting to work with this charity called the Guardian Group. Some former Army guys started it, and they're like, it's a anti-sex trafficking.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool. They actually go out and like build cases around these guys that are doing the sex trafficking, and then hand over, like, they call it a target packet to the police department.
That's fucking awesome.
So they actually do all the legwork. It's not just, you know, donating money to this thing or that thing, which is very admirable. But these guys, with the skill set they developed in the military, are using it to track down.
Fucking awesome.
So I think it was February was like anti-trafficking month or something, you know, whatever the calendar said. And they'd put out a series of videos of like what they do and who they are. And we're trying to help them get more awareness because they do fantastic work. They posted a video. I tried to repost it on, you know, Noveski's Facebook page with boosting it. You know, I was paying for some ads, denied. And I responded, I was like, there's no guns in this. But the fact that it said Noveski Rifle Works was promoting this anti-sex trafficking video, all of a sudden it didn't meet the guidelines. And
they've done that, like even YouTube now with me flags immediately and demonetizes my videos and says that they're not suitable for all viewers, and I have to manually dispute all of them. That I'm like, man, there was not, like my last one, there wasn't one cuss word and there wasn't one fucking rifle in there, but they automatically flagged me, and I had to go through the manual review process, and they're like, okay, I guess you're good in this one. But they're obviously, you know, watermarking guys like us and companies like Noveski and saying, hey, just out the gate, it's a fucking no.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
It's pretty crazy, and it's disheartening because, you know, especially when you're trying to put out good content, right, and give content to the people that are there to consume that specific content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not like I'm, you know, putting my content on some page that is going to offend a lot of people. The only, you know,
you're not going to Nickelodeon and showing a minigun. It's the people that want to consume specific content that are already following that page. I mean,
one thing I found though with us, like, we don't have a gigantic following. I think our Instagram is like approaching 300,000 or something. I mean, when I started, it was at like 10 or 15,000.
Oh, really?
And then 3 years we grew it to that much. But I feel stoked because I think the people that follow us are genuine consumers or into the brand, and we have good interaction and good engagement. But yeah, the numbers aren't as awesome as they were a decade ago, you know, or
yeah, that was like the Wild West though.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they didn't have any controls. You know, you could share and it was shared to everybody. And
then I remember, you know, before Facebook had went public and before even you were able to buy ads on Facebook,
right?
Pages software released, and we had that fan page. You posted to 250,000 people the second you hit post. It went to 250,000 feeds. I remember showing somebody in 10 minutes, we'd racked up 75,000 comments.
Yeah,
that's insane.
That's unheard of. Like,
yeah, you can't even get that traffic like today.
Well, no, and everything's getting more restrictive based off of, you know, some of the press releases that are coming out of Facebook and how they're actually even more intensely monitoring distribution of content because they're focusing more on family, community rather than entertainment and news, which I don't know what their end goal with that is, but it's going to impact everybody.
Yeah, so you start looking at, okay, what's next? You know, is it going to be a different platform, you know, from an industry outsider, or is it going to be an industry platform that someone develops to cater towards the gun industry?
Right.
And I don't know, like, I'm torn on that. I've messed around with some of the industry ones, and there's a lot of cool things that they do, but there's like not that completeness that I don't know if that makes sense, but like there's just not the same feeling as you get when you're posting on a much more adopted platform, I guess. But video is the same, you know, the video views for us have steadily decreased, but like, I don't think the content's changed that much. I think it's actually gotten better, but
that's across the board in my feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at even any of the influencers in our space, like they're restricting it significantly across the board. Because if you compare numbers, I saw that drop in some of my numbers. I'm like, okay, I'm just getting fucking stupid on the internet. But then you look at other people in the same space, and they've had that same thing, about 30 to 40% decrease in viewership and engagement. And who knows where it goes at this point? I mean, you can hypothesize, but no one up top is going to tell you what they're doing.
Yeah, and I look at like my old boss and the videos that we did versus the new ones he's doing, and you can see that trend. I mean, I remember, so the first video Ken did was Gymkhana 1, and I didn't work on that one specifically. He showed it to me after it was done, and then I helped be a part of the team that kind of capitalized and launched it later. But that thing got 15 million views, and nowadays it doesn't sound like a lot, but at the that was
back then. The quest for 1 million was huge. 1 million.
It was so
1 million.
So Ken, I think, originally had posted it on his personal page, and ended up getting dinged for server overages.
Right.
Like crazy amount of money for like how many people. He was like, oh, I'll probably get like thinking like 100,000 views, or whatever. And
right.
15 million later, it crashed servers and did, and then got eventually hosted to YouTube. But the ones I worked on, essentially, I think they're at probably 500 million views right now. And that was a cool experience. But then I get to the gun industry, I go from, all right, we just launched this video, got 90 million views. And then I launched my first Silence Co video, and it's like 20,000 views.
Yeah.
Everyone at work's high-fiving because it's like, oh, that's good. But like, I don't know. I've always chased that, and I don't think the gun industry could ever get to that point. Or I don't know.
Not on this platform.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Two.
I mean, but I don't know. I mean, I think that there's something to be said too, which is I think we probably had one of the most successful firearms videos on Facebook last year. And it's kind of how you structure the content, right? So we could have easily been flagged. That could have easily been taken down, but it wasn't.
Well, it was because we followed a lot of specific.
We followed the rules,
guidelines,
and we've been at this game. I think it's so funny because guys are like, sometimes I think they look at our videos and they're like, oh, those guys are just having fun, and they're just like having fun and they're just super lucky. And it's like, dude, this is like years of experience in doing these things. And like,
well, you guys do such a fantastic job. Like your videos are awesome. And that's always the funny part about marketing is the one thing, if you do good marketing, the one thing you'll solicit from other people you work with is it must be nice.
Right.
I mean, so at DC, it'd be like, okay, well, we're going to go to Spain for 10 days and do this, or go video scout in China. And I remember getting back and people were like, oh, yeah, it must be nice.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I saw the hotel lobby 12 hours a day because that was the only place that had Wi-Fi. And the beach is like
it's total perception on social, man. We always make jokes about that.
Yeah.
It's like, what's it like to be Matt Best, man? I'm like, you fucking stare at a computer about 12 or 13 hours a day.
We sat on a mountaintop that day for 10 hours. Like, and we
fixing
had to fix
targets
the targets
with zip ties.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't take this anybody out there as like it's complaining, because it was
it was a fun time.
It was a great time.
Well, look at how hard the work is. If I'm on a mountain shooting a gun, I'm in,
If you're not having fun doing work, you should find something else to do.
Well,
I mean, that's been my
social media too, right? People always market and they're attempting to have fun rather than just organically and authentically having fun. And that's something I think that our company's done really well, is we've created that culture and environment and ecosystem that really promotes like a happy and positive community. And then we just capture that in a satirical approach and then post it. And that's why it's like, man, I wish I was hanging with those guys, because it's just us being us,
And it's funny how that works, because even say posing someone with a rifle, you hand someone a rifle and say, we're going to take a photo of you. The way they hold the gun, the way their body is positioned is completely different than if you're like, okay, now put a round down range. Then everything changes, the way they hold.
Everything.
And so, but that's the same kind of theory of having fun. If you're having fun, it's contagious. People want to see that. That's the kind of content I want to consume, not like, I think I've seen some videos in the industry that were like fake videos of like what you guys do. Not like satirical, but just like kind of knockoff type videos. And at first you're like maybe tricked for a second if you read the title. It's like, oh, these guys are up to something else, and then 10 seconds you're in, there's a disingenuine, and bless their hearts for trying, but but like there's a disingenuine nature to faking it and faking fun or faking, you know, good comedy or whatever. Like,
if you have to say you're having fun on a video, chances are you're not.
Correct.
It's kind of like one of those things. If you have to tell people you're in charge, you're
tell
not
people
in
your
charge.
rank. You've obviously already lost this argument.
I am the wife of the lieutenant.
I am a major douche.
I had a conversation with a marketing guy from a major firearms company at SHOT Show, and he was like, "Well, you know, it must kind of one of those things. It must be nice, you know, you guys are a coffee company." And I was like, "Yeah, but you fail to realize that, you know, we had a video this year that was seen 30 million times and it had firearms in it. Did you? Did you?
Yeah.
And how much is your marketing department spending per year? Because it's a lot more than mine."
Yeah.
And it was like, and he was kind of like stepped back and he didn't really get it. He kind of got indignant for like a half a second, and then he's like, "Fuck, you're right. God damn it. How'd you guys do that?" And it was like,
That's my favorite. On a very much smaller, on a very smaller level, this year, Lorena and I came up with an idea to do our catalog on viewfinders. You remember those, like from the 80s, like you click and the reel goes through. Yeah. So we did a viewfinder or a viewmaster with 3 reels of content, and that was our catalog this year. And it was always funny because I remember going up to some of the big companies, got people that we knew, and they're like, "Oh, is this a viewmaster?" And you can just see the guy's look in his face, and it's like one of two things: either this is a fun idea, congratulations, that's awesome, or like, where's my marketing guy? Because this guy dropped. Like, why aren't we thinking of fun things to do? Because everyone's doing the same stuff. I mean, that's
everybody. Well, that's what we talk about it all the time.
Well,
We're like,
I think that's the
they're
massive
just copying
problem.
everybody.
Yeah, it's they're not plagiarizing. They're trying to essentially create a formula that worked at one point in time. You know, it's just like whatever, like a cool book called Traction that we read. It's like the Traction channel. At some point, there's going to hit a saturation point. So it's like if you're not doing you and being creative and staying authentic, you're just going to replicate, and you're always going to be second to the show. Someone's going to be better because they're doing something that they're not redefining, they're defining.
The firearms industry, I think, as a whole, is horrible with an incestual churn.
Yeah.
The one guy that ran marketing for company A over here left for company B, and C jumped in, and now he's with B and A, and it's the same people. The same people have just been taking this different positions in different brands.
And they weren't good at marketing at the previous company.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude.
And then they wonder, like, oh yeah, we got company A's guy. Now we're gonna do it. Like, wait, we're still fucked.
That's what cracks me up about this industry, because it's like any other industry I've seen, if you're bad at what you do, whether it's like running a company or being, you know, a marketing executive, you just kind of disappear. Like you're gone. Yeah. In this industry, it's like, oh, and now he's running this over there.
Yeah, but in my opinion, it has to be because the massive amount of red tape that exists in marketing a gun company, like it's going to be so hard to pull super high level talent because the money's probably not there. And also, you're so restricted in your output. I mean, geez, you can't even market on social across the board. You can't as a firearms company. So it's like you hit this point, and how do you recruit epic talent that worked for Fortune 500 companies to go market a $30 million company that probably can't use social? And that is what marketing is essentially at this point.
That experiment was tried and failed miserably with a competing suppressor company. They pulled all these high-level execs from all these Fortune 500 companies, and in 6 months, they just...
Yeah,
it's hard space.
They flew it into the ground like a Gulf Stream.
Solid.
It's a little inside baseball there.
That one was really good right there.
Right?
That's fun. That's good times. Yeah, that's the fun part, is when you can find people that do a good job. And usually it's like you take a chance on someone that maybe doesn't have the right experience level. And maybe Jim's like a good example. Like he did some good marketing. He worked at a big company here in Utah.
He helped with one of an iconic, like studied marketing campaign, the Does It Blend.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God, those guys are brilliant.
That was fucking great.
2 stories
So
on that.
many
This is
fucking
funny.
blenders they sold, dude.
So Ken had like a RC car line built around his cars, and
I wanna buy
he
one,
actually had
actually.
him on the show and blended his
Oh, really?
RC car. So that was like the first time I ever heard of that guy. And we started watching his stuff, and it was funny. Fast forward to Silencer Co. Utah's a small state. Everyone knows everyone. Next thing you know, the Blend Tech, it was actually a connection from a guy I used to work with at DC who moved up here, got a job marketing at Blend Tech, worked with Jim, and that guy, do you remember his name?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Is Blend Tech still around?
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah.
I have one of
They've
their
got a big
blenders.
building
They're-
heading towards Provo.
I need to buy one.
I would say their blenders are the best in the business. But
Happy
so-
Valentine's Day, sweetheart. You get a fucking blender.
So
Happy Valentine's Day. Here's an oven.
I mean
Just kidding.
the blenders are more expensive than an oven, but so you might get points for it. But they came to Silencer Co. to try to figure out if there'd be any cross technology to help make their blenders quieter.
Oh, wow.
And so there's
that's
it's
cool.
kind of an interesting thing.
That is funny.
But so Jim came from a very different background. He's a good example for what we were talking about. And he stepped in the gun industry and learned super quick. If you're motivated, you get that learning curve is pretty small. So, there are chances for that, but
It's
I think
hard to go wrong with hyper creative. Like you're always going to get something out of that. They might need to go away eventually, but
You might have a PR nightmare, but at least it was creative.
Man,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
might
it's-
wrap their
yeah.
car in a fucking totally douchey.
Did Mike see it yet?
No.
We're getting
Hopefully-
his opinion.
Hopefully nobody
We're getting
sees
his
it.
opinion on this.
Well, hey, where can they find you, Mike? Obviously Noveski. You can say.
Let's not say where can they find Noveski. Where can they find Black Rifle Coffee's custom run 150 of the most
Yeah.
epic, cool kitted rifles you can purchase. They're
Ever.
gonna fly.
147.
so at airing of this show,
147.
at airing of the show, they will be available at noveski.com.
/
And I will.
awesome rifle.
I will put a cherry on top of
not a real
this,
link.
which is like in the world of biz dev and creating business relationships. It's all about. It's not who you know at a certain point. It is where it's like it's who you know. Then it becomes who do you want to work with, right? So most of the people that we've tried or attempted, sometimes there's just not really a good mash of personalities there. But there's a fucking great mash of personalities here, and that's one of the cool things about doing business.
We're all assholes. It works out perfect.
Yeah.
And we felt the same way. I mean, honestly, we don't do a lot with a bunch of people. It's usually extremely meaningful or very specifically targeted campaigns. And honestly, I think after coming down last year and meeting you guys and hanging out, it was like, these guys are fun, and I want to do some fun stuff with them.
If it's any consolation, right before I started contracting, I was broke as a joke. I think I had $200 in my fucking bank account, and my buddy Justin showed me a brand new Noveski that
I shot that Noveski.
Yeah, he took it down
Yeah,
to said
yeah.
qualification course, and I was like enamored by it. I was
Yeah.
like, one day,
Same
one
with me.
fucking day. I never bought one, but I was waiting for this moment.
One day. Every time he hears that song.
I Kelly Clarksoned it, man. Some people
Yeah.
wait a lifetime for a moment like this, so I'm excited.
I'm super stoked about it because I'm the same way. I couldn't buy one because they had a 2-year waiting list, and they were expensive.
Yeah.
I drooled over them. I was like, man, I want a Noveski. And then, the time passed, and then it was like, oh, wait. And then you sent one down so we could do some content with it.
Yep.
That was the first Noveski that was ever in my safe. But I can say we put a lot of thought into who we wanted to do this with, and there was really no question. Like, we want to create exponential value for the people out there. There's really no question as to what company we want to do it with. So thanks, Mike.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We're excited to get this thing out the door. So
Let's fucking do it.
yeah.
Well, let's launch code it.
Launch
Launch
code
it.
it.
I tried. That was
See you
terrible.
guys next
Thanks,
time.
guys.
See you guys.
Thanks.